Good evening. Welcome to the August meeting for the Green Local School District Board of Education. Mrs. Snowberger, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Campbell.
Here.
Mr. Herdlick.
Here.
Mr. Cohen.
Here.
Mrs. Finelli.
Here.
Mrs. Stoynoff.
Here.
Thank you. Would you all please rise and join with me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
And justice for all.
Let's see, moving in, there's still kind of one more month away from the honors and recognition piece to go in from there. While we're right there, do you want to give us a little, how'd the first week go?
Yeah, very good
I'd
start.
you on the spot right away.
Yeah, it was a
About that.
great first week. And shout out to our bus drivers for working through all of the new address changes and the new enrollments. So couldn't say enough positives. It really has been a good week, and this really is the first day that we have all our kindergartners in session. So it's almost like a new first day of school again for us today.
And that'll be enough first day of schools till next year.
For a
I would
while,
imagine.
yes, yes.
And one thing that I would like just to throw out, I know that you mentioned that we had a radio issue with the buses the first day. From the feedback that I've gotten, Faith Weber did just an unbelievable job with just making it all happen. Somehow, some way, that's kind of Faith's wheelhouse right there, I think.
Yep, it
So
is.
I just wanted to make sure that, to kind of publicly recognize that, and, it'd be easy for a person who's been around for a few years to kind of just take everything, well, it'll all work, but she certainly went above and beyond that. So just a little public thanks for Faith on that. Moving on, we have the approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Stoynoff.
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli.
Yes.
Mr. Herdlick.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. We have no need for executive session at this point in time. Any visitors that would like to make any comments on the approved agenda? If not, anyone? Okay, we'll move that right along. And moving on to item number 7, the approval of the minutes. Do I have a motion to approve the regular board meeting of July 10th, 2017?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Herdlick. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mr. Herdlick.
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli.
I abstained because I wasn't here.
Motion carries 4-0-1.
Thank you. The financial report. Superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the financial report and payment of bills as presented by the treasurer. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Finelli.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Herdlick. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Finelli.
Yes.
Mr. Herdlick.
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Under new business, the consent calendar note. Items under the consent calendar are considered routine and being acted under one motion. Be no separate discussion of these items prior to the time the board votes unless a board member requests an item be clarified or even removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Do I have a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Finelli. Questions, comments?
I'd just like to congratulate Diana Stallcup, who is on this agenda, retiring. She was one of our exceptional classroom aides after serving the district for 24 years. So I worked with her personally at the middle school and cannot say enough positives. So I just want to take a moment to wish her well. And then also, just as you can tell from the size of the agenda, this is a pretty comprehensive list of all the things, supplemental, fall sports that take place in the district. And we have a lot of people on this list that work really hard to make sure that our kids have excellent programs and offerings. So just wanted to notate, I think we're into the 4 letters there, the RRRR. It's not a misprint.
Yeah, there are just a few of them on there. Anything else, Mrs. Snowberger?
Mr. Cohen.
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli.
Yes.
Mr. Herdlick.
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff.
Yes.
Mr. Campbell.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item B, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the 5-year agreement with Infinite Cohesion eSchool View to be paid from the Permanent Improvement Fund for the following services: district website and hosting, OneView parent portal and student registration, facilities calendar, and Instant Connect notification services at a cost of $22,792 per year, and a one-time setup fee of $7,200 for OneView parent portal and student registration. OneView services to be prorated during the first year based on project initiation. All other services are an extension of the current contract. This includes a free responsive website redesign, ADA compliance, and maintenance cleanup of website content at no charge to the district. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoyanov.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hurley. I'll ask one question. Was this, so this was implemented already for this year, right? And so, for example, I think in the past, those of you who knew my affinity for filling out all the forms and stuff like that, I have to say, this was one of the better experiences I've had with the electronic forms and stuff and everything tied together, so.
Yeah. And I've actually asked Mr. Clendaniel to give a short presentation just of some of what you talked about, the past.
He thought he was getting out of that.
Yeah, nice try, so.
Take your time.
Okay. So the big thing with the website is it's outdated. We're not in compliance with ADA, so we need to change how we're doing things.
And can you, just for those that don't know what ADA is, just,
The American Disabilities Act. So with the website, there needs to be text along with pictures so that the readers that read the screen basically allow someone that can't see the screen or can't hear to be able to have different tools to use to work through the website and be able to have the same access as anyone else would in getting the content. So we've been working with eSchoolView since 2011. The main things we're working on is the website redesign, the ADA compliance, and then the additional is the OneView parent portal and student registration. Some of the local districts that are using eSchoolView here are listed. North Canton City, Massillon City is also using the parent portal as well, and just a few reference districts if somebody wanted to have some more information. So the responsive redesign would be, I know if you were to go to look at our current website on your phone, you notice that the picture gets stretched across, you can't see the whole thing, it's hard to navigate. So with the responsive design, it basically becomes whatever the website is, looks like on your computer monitor, it looks like on your phone, it looks like on your tablet. The website just shrinks and grows with whatever device you're displaying it on to allow everyone to have the same content. So if I go to find something on the website on my computer, if I look at it on my phone, I'm going to the same place to find that same information. It's not two different websites, it's not all messed up because it doesn't format correctly. So that's what the big part of the redesign is. And then along with the ADA compliance, there were some notes from their website, promotes a quality, effective communication, be able to navigate with just a keyboard, and then we'll be provided with tools to maintain compliance. So if somebody adds a picture, it won't let them to add the picture without adding some type of text to describe what the picture is. And then obviously we're required by law to comply with that. Some of the issues we had is old content, it's not current, improper links, the ability to provide consistent content on multiple devices so it looks the same, and then also the ADA compliance. By doing the redesign, we're able to clean up the stale links and information, comply with ADA, and also have some tools to stay compliant. We get a responsive, consistent design across devices, and then we'll also get some assistance from eSchoolView with the cleanup as far as finding links that don't go anywhere, or if anything that was last time it was looked at was 2011 or whatever date we decide, we can have that stuff removed automatically and save some time on our side. The biggest change and the biggest part is the OneView portal that we're looking to add. It eliminates the need to create new sets of records for same students each year. Basically, they'll partner with Neonet to integrate the online forms and registrations with Dazzle, so that it'll pull all the information out of Dazzle. All that information will be housed in there. And then from there, we can do online student registration. We'll be able to get to one place for parents to access all their school information. I have a couple pictures I'll show you here in a second. If you have multiple students, you only have to have one login to be able to go in and look at each individual student's information, to update information. Anytime you go in and update information, once you pull up your information. It'll pre-populate anything that's currently in there. And then it also allows us to have real-time changes. So if a parent's phone number changes, they can immediately go to this site, change the phone number, hit submit, and then it would send a notification to whoever's responsible for verifying that and then posting it. So if we had, say, emergency medical form, the kid's going on a field trip the next day, we should have the most current information for that student in all our data. So this is just an example of the parent portal. It's not that great on there, but I do have smaller pictures. But basically in the top, you'll have a pull down that you can select your students. So if you had 12 people in your family, all 12 children would be listed there, and you can pull down and select. As you select each student, the content on the page changes for that student, and then it also changes based on the building that student's in. So like for example, here is the progress book, would say be center. You could have the student schedule there. You could also have the grades posted if we want. Anything that's in Dazzle, we'll be able to pull that information and display it on this parent portal. So instead of having to go to Progress Book, to Versatrans, to Easy Pay, and go to all these different sites to check on my kids' fees and all those things, I can go to this one spot and get all that information. If I choose to log in to those other sites, I can click a link that we'll provide. First time they log in, they'll have to put in their username and password, but then it'll capture that information. And then from that point on, they just click the link and it'll automatically take them and bring them into all that stuff from this one area. And an example here is, this is the bus information was posted on the left-hand side. So it'll have their routes, where they, what time they get picked up, all that stuff. And they integrate with Versatrans. Easy Pay, this is an example of Pay For It, I think they're using there, but Easy Pay is who we use. And then eSchool is a service partner with Easy Pay. And actually, they were a service partner with everybody we had already used, so they get a lot better access to data that allows us to present a lot better information. And then we can also present any other building or district information we like, such as upcoming events and calendars based on their buildings, or the news feed from the website for that student's information, for that building, for that student. Some of the things we ran into is we were using multiple sites and services for entering the same information, forms information. So if you had a student, you had to enter all your information for your emergency medical form at the beginning of the year and verify all your stuff. And then if your student was playing in a sport, you had to go to another website to enter in all the information that you needed, that they needed for there, and you're duplicating a lot of that data entry. This service will eliminate all that. They'll go to one place, and based on the selections they make, it'll ask them to what data and forms they need. It'll ask them to fill it all out in one spot. And then if you go to fill it out for another student, it automatically pre-populates that data from the first student as you move forward. So it saves them lots of time. We typically have multiple logins for parents and services. We'll eliminate that. Duplicated data entry for registration and verification. So we fill out the online forms, the data comes in, we get it into a system, and then we have to take that data and then enter it into another system. With this, we'll be able to integrate all that data, and it'll be, once it's approved and we say, yes, this is good, it gets pushed into the system, and then all their records are created for their school records to be able to start to schedule them in classes and those types of things. And obviously, with having to do the data entry a couple times, you got increased chance for data error. And then we also have, we were doing manual entry for a lot of automated processes. So we're already putting the information in once, and then we're re-entering it. So we're going to eliminate that. And I kind of talked about the benefits as I talked about the things that we were looking at there. I mean, the big thing is that just being able to eliminate all those forms and spaces and make that the easiest thing possible.
So it is what Mr. Campbell said earlier, a lot of those features we've had, this is just really enhancing
Yeah, so
with that.
we've had some of those features in the past, and then in speaking with Mrs. Bruick, she helped me work through some of the stuff of moving to something like this, and some of the systems we currently have and making those integrate. She was a good resource for me as far as, and also from working with, she had worked with eSchoolView in the past, so she had helped me with those, and also with Mr. Ayton had helped a lot assisting with contacting eSchoolView with different services that they offered and getting everything worked out.
And when will this all be done and up and running?
So we're looking at right now is to, once we get approved, we'll get the paperwork in for changing the website. Our current process is looking at possibly the beginning of the calendar year, so January, to start to roll out the new website once we get the design and all that done. And then for the parent portal and student registration, We'd like to obviously demo it with some parents and staff and whoever we can to look at any changes, get feedback and input of what people would like to see. And then the student registration, we're looking at working through with the staff to begin with, make sure they're comfortable with it and like it, and then possibly using to start with kindergarten registration, and then going forward after that, using that going forward.
Security is always a concern with all the online data.
Yes,
Are
all
we-
data is encrypted to and from, back and forth, and they use the same security as the Amazon and Apple uses.
Oh, okay. Like forms for like everyday things, like a lot of times there's either field trips that, I mean, that's kind of the one that always trips me up, like right at the end of, because, it's like, this is
Yes.
due tomorrow.
So with these forms, we do have maintenance with them, so if we come up, say, all of a sudden we decide, well, why don't we put field trip forms online? We can add them, that'll be part of the service contract that we have with them. All that, any form that we have, we can put online, and then we're able to generate reports and print anything that we want from that information.
And then one other thing there, in years past is we've kind of tried to, I don't know if we're trying to automate facilities scheduling and that kind of stuff. At times there's been overlaps because, one group kind of owns this part and
Sure.
now all of a sudden somebody else has access to it. Is this like a one-stop shop in terms of?
It is, and
Here's
also
all the
as
sporting
part of
events,
that, we
here's
are-
all
we
the
are
arts
changing our
and stuff.
calendaring is changed, and that will integrate with our athletics calendar to try and bring that information in, so we avoid those conflicts where you don't see something there and it gets scheduled and then two people end up showing up. So we're looking to avoid all that by having all that stuff integrate together.
Awesome. And where is it, who's the webmaster? Is that still,
I
something?
believe Mr.
Is that-
Eaton is going to be the lucky one to get to work with a lot of that stuff
Gotcha.
from conversations we've had so far.
Okay, great.
Okay? All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks. Anything else? Mrs. Snowberg?
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick?
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item C, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the participation in the Ohio Schools Council Cooperative Bus Purchasing Program and authorize the council to advertise and receive bids on the board's behalf for the purchase of school bus chassis and bodies per submitted specifications. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Finelli. Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff. It's pretty Mrs. Snowberger.
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Item D, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the liquidation of assets, bus number 40 and bus number 55 with the appropriate model and VIN numbers. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdlick. Any questions on that? Jeff?
Yeah, just real quick, this is a testament to our bus mechanics in the garage. These buses are nearly 20 years old. They've done everything they could to keep them on the road. One of the buses had a broken frame, which unfortunately that ends the functionality of the bus. And then another one, it's a almost 20-year-old bus with engine issues. So what they're able to do then is take any of the pieces and parts that they can utilize for other buses and then from there dispose of the parts that aren't useful. So they do a really, really nice job of keeping our fleet in good shape and, looking forward to moving away from these 20-year-old buses.
I'm sure they were glad to see the new ones roll in. So here's a question. On the, you said the one has a broken frame. As a parent, would they say, oh my gosh, broken frame, how did you even find that? And would have been driving around with that? Is that stuff that they find on that pre-school year inspection that they go through?
Yeah, they're inspecting them regularly, so with that, they see these things coming long before students will ever be on them. So once they've identified an issue, they go through their process, go through their checklist, and then when some of these costs are not feasible for the money to put in a brand-new engine in a 20-year-old bus, then they make the determination to decide if it's worth moving forward. And both of these, the answer was no.
Right. And I think you said earlier in the spring that the usual lifespan of one of these buses is 12? 12 to 15?
Yeah, we were looking at like state average to try to come up with a plan to make sure our fleet is within that range, and it's anywhere from 12 to 15 years, so
Wow,
we're doing good with those two.
wow, so they really get a lot of bang for the buck. with
Yeah, I
these
think
guys.
Mrs. Stoynoff may have ridden on one of these.
I think we already scrapped the one that I wrote on.
And it wasn't new, unfortunately.
Shortly after the immediate phone call that you got after I arrived, it said destination, yes. But I did ride home on it. Against my will.
Mrs. Snowberger?
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item E, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the bus routes established for the 2017-18 school year and authorize the superintendent or designee the authority to designate or relocate subsequent school bus stops and routes. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Finelli. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Cohen. Pretty standard. And if people want to, if they have a request to change, or is there like some direction that they can go to
Yeah,
through the transportation tab or
Yep,
something?
there's a link on the website under transportation. They can handle that, and if it's something that's extremely unique that doesn't work for them, there's a number of contact information so they can get a hold of either Glenna or Faith in the bus garage.
Okay, thanks. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. Item F, the superintendent and treasurer recommend the Board of Education approve the resolution to approve the contract with the Cuyahoga County Educational Service Center to provide services to visually impaired students. Do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Hurdlick. Second?
Second.
Thank you,
Second.
Mr. Cohen. Mrs. Snowberger?
Mr. Hurdlick?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes,
Motion carries 5-0.
thank you. I assume there's probably no
There is.
comments on the clipboard?
There's no one on the clipboard. He just
Okay.
came out.
Unless anyone would like to speak, and if not, we'll go right from there. Mr. Clendon, if you'd like to speak again, you're certainly more than welcome.
That's good.
With board combinations. Mark, why don't we start down at your end this time?
Sure. Thanks, Bob. Well, first of all, welcome back. I hope everyone had an enjoyable summer. They always go quick. But just kudos to our entire staff, bus drivers, teachers, administration, our students, obviously kicking it all back into gear. A lot of things go into making it a smooth beginning, and every year it's, there's one or two little hiccups. But all in all, each year starts fantastic, and that's just a credit to the entire staff here at Green Local Schools. So I tip my hat to all of them and all their hard work working together to get the year started off on the right way. We have our first home football game this Friday against Paynesville Riverside. Good first game in Ashland. I don't know if anyone made it out to that one, but almost came back. We were down 17 and late in the fourth, and had the ball with a chance to win it, but couldn't put it in. But so the kids played their hearts out. So hopefully back home in front of the home crowd, it's usually a good crowd for that first game. Everybody's excited about seeing everybody for the first time. So look forward to seeing everyone out there at the game. Also, the Green Schools Foundation, they're in the middle of their membership drive. That's an organization that deals with scholarships for our high school seniors, classroom grants for our teachers, and different other programs that we sponsor throughout the year, throughout the building. So anyone looking to become a member of the foundation, you can go to our website, which is greenschoolsfoundation.com. We're also having our golf outing this September 16th at Mayfair, a fundraiser there. So we still have some openings there for foursomes, if anyone's interested in golfing in that. And if you're a golf advocate, we do have raffle tickets that we're selling for $20 for a shot at winning over $1,800 in golf from local courses in the area. So that's also all on the website at greenschoolsfoundation.com. So check that stuff out. All the money goes to, obviously, continuing the programs that the foundation does. So last thing, the Blessings in a Backpack program starts again this year. The first pack is September 21st at the intermediate school. Always looking for volunteers for that. Jennifer Dewar does a great job with that. But that is at the intermediate school in their pantry building. I don't know if is that on our website? Contact information for that, for Jennifer, if somebody wanted to volunteer for Blessings, anybody?
That's a good question. I'm going to check on
I'm
that.
not sure. But if not, they can reach out to me. And I'll be able to help you out there too. But it's a great, obviously helps out a lot of great kids that are not quite as fortunate. And it's a great program, so anyone looking to volunteer, it's a great program to volunteer for. So welcome back.
Thank you, Mr. Hurley. Mr. Cohen.
Thank you. Welcome back to everybody for what hopefully will be a fantastic school year. As people know, I'm heavily involved in the soccer program. Just want to let you know about some upcoming events. Tomorrow night is a first Federal League game for the boys' high school soccer team versus Glen Oak. So that'll be a very exciting game. Last year, the boys beat Glen Oak at Glen Oak to win the Federal League title. It was a really fantastic game, lots of excitement, so hopefully we'll get a big crowd tomorrow night. September 9th for the boys soccer team is senior night already, believe it or not, and just because of scheduling, they had to do it somewhat early. So that's September 9th versus Canfield, and the girls' high school soccer team, their next home game is going to be September 2nd versus Cuyahoga Falls. And speaking of soccer, we have Kick for the Cure coming up on September 16th, which is a Saturday. The gates are going to open at noon, and there's going to be a number of soccer games being played at 1 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock, and 7 o'clock between Greene, Austintown, and Marlington, Aquinas boys and girls high school soccer teams. There's going to be raffles, all sorts of food, raffle baskets, lots of fun. Of course, the dunk tank where people can dunk the coaches, which is always fun, especially for the players. The bouncy house and a lot more. So it's going to be at the stadium, and proceeds are going to benefit Stewart's Caring Place and Camp Quality. Last year, the event raised over $27,000, and just based on the talk and the excitement, I expect that they're going to raise at least that much this year, and hopefully the weather will cooperate. For those of us, or for those of you that have social media and Facebook, it's a reminder that Facebook is a really great way to keep up with what's happening in our schools. The individual buildings have Facebook pages, and all you have to do is like the Facebook page and get all sorts of information and pictures. And I can't tell you how many times I've opened Facebook and there's a picture of some kid I know, or even my own kid, because I happen to like that Facebook page. All sorts of information on those things. There's the Green Bulldogs athletic department has a Facebook page. Also, GHS Student Services, there's a Green Local Schools Performing Arts page. So I encourage people to like these pages. Not only that, but the district also has Twitter as well for various things. So it is the 21st century, and so hopefully people will be starting to follow our school events on social media. The Bulldog Dash Committee is very hard at work with a number of kickoff events at the various buildings. The committee is terrific. You don't need to run a 5K. You can walk, and I know if I participate in that, I will definitely be walking, or maybe crawling at the end. The Bulldog Dash will be held on Sunday, October 1st, and it's going to conclude a great homecoming weekend. And speaking of homecoming, which is right around the corner, believe it or not, more details will be forthcoming. However, rumor has it that the district is going to be hosting a pig roast and a block party just prior to the homecoming rally on Thursday, September 28th. So look for details. I've got an idea. Look for details on the Facebook pages that you like, because I'm sure there's going to be lots of details on Facebook and other places. So, and that's all I have. Is that
Okay.
enough? Have I tired you all out?
I think that's good.
Okay,
I think
good.
that's
I could go on if you want me
If
to.
somebody misses something, you can fill in at
It's
the
the
end.
first day of school for me.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
Yes.
all right.
Mrs. Spinelli? Hard to
Yes.
follow that, but
Hard to follow
give it a
that.
shot.
Well, I wanted to say thank you also to the transportation team for their efforts during this last week and starting this week. While it's never without hiccups and delays, but it becomes a team effort to transport more than 2,000 students on the bus this year. This year, there were some changes made, so more of the students would have the same bus going to school as coming home. And my daughter totally missed that. And so there went my poor granddaughter to school thinking she's coming home on bus 4 when it was bus 24. But we have a new teacher, Mr. Greenwood, at Green Primary School that I would like to say thank you to, because he read off all of the bus schedules to each child, and my daughter's was 24 instead of, or my granddaughter's was 24 instead of 4, so he saved the day for me and for her mom and for her. Anyway, I would like to I'd like to commend our lower level buildings for utilizing technology for their open houses. The videos describing what to expect a day in the life of a younger bulldog student helped to put both the parent and the students at ease. And I've been told by a couple of kindergarten parents that their new students watched their video several times, and it put them at ease. So, thank you. And thanks to the 14 vendors who participated at Convocation Day. We appreciate our business community and our partnership. And I was there at Convocation Day, and I want to tell Jeff and Dan what a wonderful opening program that they had. And afterwards, the staff had several opportunities for personal development, which was really nice. It was a little different this year, but it turned out really, really nice. Also, a special note to Melinda Collette for all the attention to detail in making the day great. That's all I have.
And by the way, Mr. Greenwood happens to be an assistant soccer
Soccer
coach for the boys,
coach.
and he is a wonderful guy.
He is a wonderful
Yes,
guy.
and I'm glad he saved the day.
He saved the day.
At the primary school, not to be
At the primary
confused with
school.
Mr. Greenwood at Greenwood.
Right,
Right.
exactly.
Gotcha.
He's Green Primary
It's
School.
Mr. Primary at Greenwood, right?
Mrs. Stoyanov?
I just want to echo what others have said. Welcome back to a brand new year. Mr. Cohen and I kicked that off at the University of Akron today. We started back, so everyone is back in the swing of things. And I always tell people that if your life is academia, this is your new year. January 1st is just time when you start writing 1 on your checks again. So for us, this is the new year. On September 8th, 2017, we will honor all military and first responders from the cities of Green and Orange communities at our football game. Each of those men and women will receive free admission to the game, a special T-shirt, and an honorary memento thanking them for their service. There will also be a pregame event at the CAB featuring food trucks with a remote broadcast from WONE. Proceeds from the food trucks will benefit our Veterans Memorial fundraising that the city is doing. Our goal is to honor over 300 servicemen and women this year. Special thanks to our sponsors, Blind & Son and Rubber City Radio Group, say that 3 times fast, for helping to make this happen. As always, safety and security remains a top priority in the district, and that includes proper training for our staff. Today, building nursing staff and members of the CAB were trained by the Summit County Sheriff's Office on the use of trauma bags so that immediate and basic care can be administered. In case of the event of some tragedy, we can administer care until first responders arrive. These are the same kits that Green Fire uses as our first responders. I wanted to say a thank you to the Green All Sports boosters for their successful summer event, Live After 5 concert series. I was able to attend the event on the 12th. It was a lot of fun. It really was a great family event. They had a couple of bands, but a Jimmy Buffett tribute band, food trucks, a kids area, and it really was a great time. Several of us were there. Just a reminder that the Green All Sports Booster memberships are now on sale, and all of those membership and student passes purchased by Thursday the 31st will be entered into a hat, and a name will be drawn at the halftime of the game on Friday, September 1st, and that person's name who's drawn will receive the money back that they paid for their pass. So go to Green All Sports Boosters today to purchase yours. And I also wanted to send a personal thank you to Donnie Boyer. A lot of us know Donnie. He is the owner of Legends, and to Dr. Spoonhauer for their support of the Live After 5 concert event. I had the pleasure of joining last Sunday, the 20th, decorating the girls' bathrooms at the high school. Some of you may have seen a couple articles in the paper about that, and it really was a wonderful event. And we were able, hopefully, to bring a little light to the girls' days. And I think we all know that our girls are faced with a lot of negative talk about body image and self-confidence and about who they should be and who they shouldn't be. And so I think this project was great to just give them a little bit of a boost every day as they walk in and out of there, to know that we're thinking about them and that they should walk out with confidence always. So I was very pleased to be a part of that project. I also had the opportunity last week to attend a symposium, Opiates' Effect on Kids, as part of my position on Summit County Children's Services Board and the Summit for Kids Breakfast. And it was a wonderfully done symposium, really giving some more information directly about how the opiate crisis is affecting kids, not only just across Summit County, but also here in the city of Greene. So I was very happy to be able to attend that and learn some new statistics that were unfortunately very sad, but also hearing about some of the great work that we're doing in the community to try to stem this crisis. And with that, I'll just say good luck to our Bulldogs on Friday night. I can't wait. Friday night football is one of my favorite things, so I hope to see you all there on Friday. It's not the football. Mark heard me.
Is that loud?
Okay, let's be honest. I like the community atmosphere, and I do occasionally watch when people scream. I know that I should turn and look, but I love my Bulldogs no matter what. I don't always know what's going on, I'll be quite honest. But I still love going to the games and the community atmosphere. So good luck, Bulldogs, and welcome back, everyone.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff. It's amazing that it might be one or two things. The only thing I'd like to add is, to Mr. Jackson and his staff, the custodial staff, for all the great job that they did on the facilities over the summer. Kind of the unsung heroes as it goes from there when people come in and everything's shiny and new and smells good, for the first hour and all that kind of stuff. But I think everybody's going to take a look at that Friday night when they see the new turf and the facilities and stuff, and how we've made that kept it up to the same green standard that we always have, and that's basically right there at the top of the list. So thank you, Mr. Jackson, for that. If you'd pass on to your staff, I think our sincere appreciation for that as well. One thing, to add on to the Booster Club and the Band Booster, they are raffling off Doug Chevrolet has generously donated a Chevy Canyon truck this year to raffle. In the past, it's always been a Camaro. Just a Camaro. But this year the Canyon truck has been at several events, including the concert, and it is pretty sharp. So if you have an opportunity to take a look at that, I'm sure you'll buy multiple tickets for your chance to win that. And then last but not least, just for a little something near and dear to everyone's heart, the Nexus Pipeline. If you hadn't heard, the FERC has approved the certificate, or issued the certificate, I believe is what it's called, for the go-ahead with disregarding the reroute that the City of Greene has put forward. However, the City of Greene has issued a fairly strong statement, I think, and an appropriate one. And I certainly want to pass on the school's appreciation for them taking on for this kind of a monumental task, going against the Goliath of everything, in terms of trying to make it the best for our community, keeping our kids in schools kind of out of potential harm's way with that. So I think they have it on the City of Greene website, I'm pretty sure is where I saw that. And I know the Akron Beacon Journal put something in there too as well.
You're part of their mailing list. You would have received it this afternoon also.
So hopefully, we can only hope that cooler heads prevail, but it seems like it's starting to be kind of a little bit of a slippery slope at this point in time. So other than that, that's all we have. And I do not believe there's any need for executive session this evening. And we will then see you all here Friday for the football game. And
Or Tuesday for the soccer game.
Or Tuesday, and
Which will be tomorrow.
several other days for soccer
That's
events and matches
Exactly.
that go on throughout the week. And with that, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Mrs. Stoynoff.
Second.
Thank you, Mrs. Finelli. Mrs. Snowberger.
Mrs. Stoynoff?
Yes.
Mrs. Finelli?
Yes.
Mr. Hurdlick?
Yes.
Mr. Campbell?
Yes.
Mr. Cohen?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you. See you next time. Welcome back, everyone.